Okay, so guys' hormonal cycles are 24 hours. So that means they wake up in the morning, their hormones are like at peak. Towards the end of the day, it kind of balances it out and drops back down again. The next day in the morning, again, they're back at its peak level. And this explains why the balanced 9 to 5, 40-hour a week, day in and day out structure kind of works really well for men. And it's not so much the case for women. And for us ladies, it's a little different. Our hormonal cycles, it's every 27 to 28 days, which means that there's ups and there's downs that are felt over a period of 27 to 28 days versus for the guys, they kind of feel the ups and downs in that 1 24-hour period in one day. For us, because it's 27 to 28 days, the ups can last for longer periods of time. So that's usually a few days. And so can the downs. So when our hormones are peaking and they're really up, we feel happy, we feel excited, we feel just joyful, full of energy, just ready to go out there, confident, all of that. And towards the end of that cycle, we feel PMS, we feel anxiety, we feel insecure, our minds literally take over, and our anxiety is at all-time high. And although there are, scientifically speaking, a lot of hormones that play into why we think and feel a certain way, we're not going to go into too much detail about exactly what those hormones are within this episode. But for the setup of this episode, just know that the peaks and the drops of the hormone level over the entire cycle of 27 to 28 days are directly related to how you think, feel, and work during those days. If you're a woman, I don't have to say much. You guys know how crazy the mood swings can feel. I personally have felt like I go to the pits of hell sometimes and I come back. We usually write this off as PMS, but there really is a lot more to it than just calling it PMS. And that's what I kind of want to bring to light with this episode, where I really want us to, as women, understand what exactly is going on inside of our bodies, what exactly is going on within each stage of our period cycle, and how we can better plan our days based on what's going on inside of us, and also how we can better regulate ourselves and our mindsets to show up in a way that's going to serve us the best. And like I said, the reason that the 9 to 5 structure, 40 hours a week, doesn't work for a lot of women is because of this cycle. And I know there are a lot of people that are going to push back and say we can do just as much as men. And I trust me, I support all of that. But even if you have a 9 to 5 job, there are certain things that you can do better using your body and using the stages of the cycle that you're at to help you show up better in that 9 to 5. So there are a lot of things that we're going to cover in this episode. And the reason I'm doing this episode is also because I am someone who struggled for the longest time with these really intense mood swings. And like I said, I used to go to the pits of hell. And I was just so tired of that because I didn't really have an understanding of what was actually going on. And now that I have done my research and I have spoken to doctors and I have spoken to my friends who have also been in very similar boats as me, I have a better understanding of what is going on inside of my body. We can really use what is going on inside of our bodies and really use it to our advantage to come out and work smarter and not harder. Welcome to episode 12 of the Mindset Mentors podcast. I am your host, Nikki K. And on this podcast, we discuss mindset hacks, self-development, self-help, spirituality, and ways to bring our mind, body, and soul into balance in order for us to build a better life. So before I go further into this topic, I do want to add a disclaimer that I am not a doctor by any means, so don't quote me on any of this. Everything that I am sharing on this episode of my podcast is based on personal research from talking to doctors and also my personal experience of having a period for the last 20 years. Everything that I share here is based on my own personal research, so just wanted to add that disclaimer in there. And let's jump into the topic. So I kind of just wanted to start off by saying what the 4 stages of the hormonal cycle are. Okay, so There is the menstrual stage, that is stage 1. Stage 2 is the follicular stage. Stage 3 is the ovulation stage. And stage 4 is the luteal stage. Okay, you can call it stage or phase, it means the same thing. Within this 27-28 day period cycle, you have these 4 stages. And stage 1 starts with the menstrual cycle. This is about day 1 to day 5. So what's exactly going on in the menstrual stage? This is when you're on your period, right? Your period starts, and this is when your estrogen level is at the lowest. So what does this look like in terms of how you're feeling and how your body is feeling and how you're thinking? This is a time that your body is going to have the least energy. This is a time where your body is going to feel more fatigued. You're probably going to feel really, in general, exhausted. You're probably going to feel sleepy and want to take naps over the day. You're probably going to have food cravings that you usually don't. So this is what you're going to be feeling in this menstrual stage. What do? You do exactly what your body needs. Okay, and you're gonna realize that this is gonna be kind of the theme as we go through the other stages as well. But in terms of what you're gonna do in each stage, let's, for example, now that we're talking about the menstrual stage, in this stage, you're going to do what your body needs you to do. That means if you feel fatigued or tired or just lethargic and you just want to sit and not do too much, that's what you're going to do. You're going to give your body the rest that it needs. If you feel like, for example, you have a food craving and you're like, oh, I know I'm on a diet, I should have a salad, but I really want a pasta. This is a time, the day 1 to day 5, where you're like, okay, I can go for the pasta. You know, you may want a portion control, that's totally up to you, but this is a time where you are going to be so loving towards your body because your body has been through a lot. As you will learn in the next stages, this is a time to really be guilt-free, eat the foods that you crave, watch TV, pamper yourself. If you can't really go out to the grocery store, just Instacart things. If you can't cook, just order in. Like, this is a time to really be taking advantage of the fact that you are on your period and relax. Just relax and rest. If you are at a 9 to 5 job, this is a time where you can probably, maybe if you have control over this, not schedule as many meetings because you're not going to want to really be very social or personable at this time. If you are at a 9 to 5 again, this might be a time where you are doing more of like admin related work, which doesn't really take a lot of mind power. Let's say you need to like maybe work with Excel and maybe copy paste some stuff into Excel and reorganize and rearrange things. So it's something like this wouldn't take a lot of your brain energy, and you also would have to sit in one place and sit in a chair and do it. So this is a time to be doing that kind of work. If you are a creative person, for me, for example, when I am trying to content create, this is a time where I try not to content create as much because I feel like I'm not as creative in this stage. I feel like I need to just kind of rest and relax. So sometimes during my menstrual cycle, during the menstrual stage specifically, I just don't content create. I don't write. I don't try to come up with ideas. I actually don't even try to go on social media so much because it's just so exhausting. So I try to do other things. I like to read instead. So I really do a lot more reading. I watch TV. If I am on social media and I come across people who have done similar things that I want to do, I kind of just save and organize things within my save folder. So I do kind of more of like the research end of content creation. And yeah, I mean, just from my personal experience, that has really worked out for me because it doesn't take a lot of my mental energy or creativity to come up with new things. I'm just kind of relaxing, resting, taking care of my body, doing more admin, research-based work, and overall just feeling it out, taking it easy. After your menstrual stage, we are now going to stage 2, and this is the follicular stage. So this stage is roughly between day 6, day 7, and it's going to go up until day 14 of your cycle. So what's happening during this phase? So your follicular phase is when your estrogen levels are going to start picking up again. It's going to start rising. And the FSH hormone, which we're not going to go deep into what exactly it does, but basically understand that the FSH hormone is what helps your egg to mature. So that hormone rises as well. So what does this look like? What does this feel like? You are going to feel really energized. That's why like the 2 days after your period, you come out of it, you're like, oh my God, I feel like I have all this energy now. I feel like just so excited. I feel so like driven. I feel so good. And this is when you're in such a good, free flowing energy. And what do you do with this energy? This is a great time to do the things that are going to take a lot more physical energy. So for example, when it comes to workouts, like this is a time where you should be doing more high intensity workouts. So like a lot more cardio, maybe a lot more running or lifting, or things that are going to take a lot more energy for you to do physically. And on a mental creative level, this is a time where you are going to be free flowing with so many creative ideas that you are going to follow through with those ideas. What does that look like? So for example, I can talk about myself in content creation, right? So in content creation, this is a phase where I just feel, like I said, just full of energy, free flowing with ideas. And this is a great, great time for me to batch create content. What that looks like is creating a whole bunch of content based on all the research that I have done during the first stage, which is the menstrual stage. That's what I'm using to research. In the second stage, in the follicular stage, this is when I'm going to use that research knowledge and come up with great ideas for content. And this is the phase, because the ideas are so free flowing, this is a great time to batch create captions, batch create reels, batch create some stuff that I'm working for my blog. You don't have to like necessarily post everything within this phase. I don't do that. But this is a great time for you to really batch create things you need to create. Okay. So if you're in the 9 to 5 space, how can you use this time? If you're in the 9 to 5, I would use this energy to come up with things that are going to take a lot more analytical thinking. Okay, so let's say you're working on a new project at work. This would be a great time to strategize how you want to execute that project. This is a great time to come up with new ideas. This is a great time to maybe try to see how you can work with other people and find creative ways that you can work with other people to maybe improve your timeline of your project or to get better outcome for your project, whatever that might be, right? I don't know exactly what everyone's 9 to 5 is, but this is what I tend to do with my 9 to 5 during this stage, where I try to re-strategize certain things. My job 9 to 5 involves a lot of writing, so I do a lot of writing, which is a lot of technical writing. So I really use this energy to do a lot more brain exercises and use my brain to analytically come up with different ways to write certain things that I need to do. So yeah, this is the time to really be enjoying your creativity, enjoying that creative space that's going to be coming to you more naturally. And having said that, we are quickly going to be moving to stage 3, and this is my favorite stage of my cycle. And this is the ovulation stage, and this starts around day 14 of your 27 to 28 day cycle. So this is like right in the middle of your cycle. So what's exactly happening in the ovulation stage? And I love this stage for several different reasons, but what's happening in this stage, right? So this is when the egg is being released. And because this is a phase that is going to be released, the hormones that are feel-good hormones are at extreme peak at this time. And ovulation, although you feel the effects of it maybe a little bit a couple days before and after the actual ovulation date, the peak time for your hormones is the actual day of your ovulation. So this day will really vary depending on how long your cycle is. You will still, however, feel the effects of it a couple days before and after the midday of your cycle. The reason I love this stage so much is because this is when your skin is going to be the most glowing. This is when you're going to feel the most confident. This is when you're going to be the least bloated. And overall, you're just going to be feeling so feminine. You're going to be feeling just so good. This is still when your ideas are just flowing. So overall, you have good energy, right? You build up that energy from the previous stage, and your skin and your hair look great. Your body is not holding as much water, so it's not as bloated as the other phases. And you're overall going to be energetically just so magnetic, and you're going to be magnetic because you're just feeling so good. Something that I've noticed, which is so interesting in my ovulation phase, is like my cheeks get naturally blushed, which I love. And my lips are also naturally more fuller and more red during the ovulation stage. So I really, really enjoy this stage when I'm in that stage. And so what do you do knowing that this is what you're going to feel like and look like during the ovulation stage? This is a great time to be the most social, and I mean the most social. This is a time when you are going to set up more meetings that you need. This is a time to do a lot more public speaking. This is a time to be more of a leader in whatever space you're trying to lead. This is the time to find opportunities to, network with people and meet new people. And if you're dating, this is a great time to be going out on dates. And I'm saying all this because you are going to be, as a woman, during this ovulation phase, as you guys might already know, I might be preaching to the choir, but this is a phase that you can really use to your advantage to just blossom. Just blossom with just such creative energy and flow and magnetism and vibrance. So this is a great, great time, even in terms of projects. Like, for example, let's go back to like the same theme, right? We're discussing 9 to 5s and creative jobs. So with the 9 to 5, we said that in stage 1 and stage 2, you're kind of just taking it easy. You're not doing as much mental work. In the second stage, where you are now being better at strategizing and planning, stage 3, when you get to stage 3 in the ovulation stage, this is a time to kind of execute those plans. This is a time that you've kind of been building up to in the first 2 stages, that now you can actually maybe present a project that you kind of researched about and planned in the first 2 phases. In terms of creativity, this is a time where I personally love to network with people. So like I put all my coffee chats during this like 2 to 3 day period, like around my ovulation, because I feel like I can just speak more confidently. I'm more of in a flow state. I feel just better and more confident and more energized as well. And sometimes it's not even about just feeling more confident. Sometimes just like your body is just not having the energy that it needs to go out and socialize and mingle with people and be attentive and all of that. So I really take this time, which is stage 3 ovulation time, to network, socialize, and do presentations. In terms of content creation, I also try to like do a lot more video based content during this time because I just feel better and I just have the energy for it. So yeah, those are some ways that I use ovulation to kind of help me during this 27-28 day cycle. And having said that, we are now at the last stage 4, which is the luteal stage or luteal phase. And this is the long lasting stage. This is somewhere between day 16 to day 28. So basically the last 10 to 12 days before your period starts. And I know a lot of you will relate that this is when things start to go back down again. So why this is happening is literally because your hormones are declining, and this is a good thing. And I want to take that kind of narrative out of this, where we're just like, oh, I hate my period, like I hate, like I'm PMSing right now. Let's change that narrative. And I'm honestly trying to learn this for myself, where I'm not so turned off by the idea that I am in my luteal phase, or I am kind of in a low state or a low mood. And I'm trying to better change my mindset into using this phase as well. And trust me, there are certain things that you can do during the luteal phase as well that are going to help you in a way where you're working, like I said, again, you're working smarter and not harder. So what does this feel like? What does the luteal phase feel like? You're not going to be as creative anymore in this phase. Your mind will start playing all kinds of tricks on you. Your anxiety is going to be at all-time high. You're going to be feeling kind of insecure, and you're going to be kind of questioning everything. You're not going to be as confident. Sometimes, like, I know that the PMSing gets so bad that a lot of people just make really, really bad decisions. And some of those decisions are irreversible damage. And, if you ever suffered with really intense mood swings, you would know that sometimes it really does feel like it is the end of the world. It really feels like sometimes you're just so overwhelmed and overclouded with just a lot of anger, and there's a lot of extreme, right? So some people show extreme anger during this phase, some people show extreme sadness and depression, some people show signs of extreme anxiety. So it's a very like extreme feeling phase to be in. And that's why I say bringing awareness to understanding what is going on within you and inside your body will really help you self-regulate. And that's kind of like the point of why I'm making this episode in the first place. So what do you do during this phase? What do you do during the luteal phase? This is a really good time to be spending time alone, because naturally you're not going to really want to be around people, because people are just going to be irritating, because the irritability is really high during this phase. So you're going to want to spend maybe more time alone. Again, you might want to be doing more admin type of work and not so much creative work again. So you're kind of slowly going back into the hibernation and isolation and just creative work, more slow work kind of space. In terms of my creativity, I am not as creative, to be honest, during this phase, so I kind of don't even try. I used to try to continue making creative content during this phase, but I wouldn't even like my content a lot of the time, so why would other people like my content? So I realized that I really should not be making content, creating content during this luteal phase. So what I do is I try to do more of the mundane work. I do a lot more like chores around the house, like cleaning, maybe like paying my bills and like reviewing my accounts. I like to read a lot more, watch mindless TV. And because your mind can play a lot of tricks on you during this time and really trigger a lot of your insecurities, this is a good time, I think, not to be on social media. This is a good time to not be looking at other people's stuff that might trigger you, or consuming content that is going to make you feel a certain type of way. I would say, kind of, if that is you and if you feel triggered by certain things that you see on social media, it's best to avoid it and try to kind of turn your focus into things that are going to be more helpful to you, in terms of just maybe taking care of your house, your body, things like that. And another thing to remember really in this phase is to not be so self-critical. That is something that I have noticed in the past that came up a lot for me during the luteal phase, where I would just be so self-critical to a point where I'm like, I feel just so exhausted, I'm lethargic, I feel like I need to take naps during the day. And I would really judge myself for it and be so upset at myself because I wasn't able to be as productive and I wasn't able to be high performing that I want to be. And so I've really kind of brought awareness to that. And now every time I feel like I am kind of lethargic and just tired and exhausted, I kind of just think about, wait, what phase of my cycle I'm at? And then I'm like, oh, I am like 10 days away from my period, or like 1 week away from my period. So yeah, duh, my body is slowing down. I get it. I respect it. And I'm going to do the best that I can and not be so judgmental. So again, with the luteal phase, it's kind of like similar to the menstrual stage, right? Where your body's just kind of slowing down. It's telling you that it needs a break, it needs to relax. You're not going to be as creative, and that's okay, but you're going to be doing other things, simpler tasks that don't take a lot of mental power and a lot more physical power as well. So those are the four stages. Those are the four stages of the period cycle, the 27 to 28 day period cycle. Using the knowledge that we have around how our bodies function during each stage, we really are able to work, like I said, we're able to work smarter and not harder. So now, what do I mean that we can work smarter? Working smarter means using what we already know that is presently available to us in our external environment, and learning about ourselves and our internal environment, and bringing both of those things into balance and working together for better results. So, for example, like I said, every time I try to come up with creative ideas, and I was forcing myself to come up with creative ideas when I was in my luteal phase, for example, I was just all over the place, and the content just straight out like sucked. Like I didn't even like my content. Like, why would anyone else like my content or want to consume my content? And I felt like I was in this loop where I was just like, I have to make content, I have to make content. And it was like really shitty content. When I realized that I was just in that stage of my cycle, and that I was not going to be creative, it was not going to feel natural, it wasn't going to flow. When I realized that was what was going on inside of my body, I was able to just kind of let it go. I told myself that I am going to start working with my body, not against it. And I was going to bring more harmony of what was happening within me inside my body, and kind of see what was going on externally, and kind of work both of them together more seamlessly to make my life easier and more fun, and then also have the product or the outcome of that be also something that was of more value. Another thing that I don't do anymore is I don't judge myself at all. Like I said, I don't judge myself at all for not being productive enough on certain days. I don't judge myself for not doing the workouts that I said I was going to do. Like if I want to eat chocolate cake one day, I give myself chocolate cake. I'm not overly critical. I kind of just allow my body to do its thing, and I'm kind of just allowing myself and my mind to also work with my body, and not force myself to do things that I'm not naturally able to do. Even early last year, mid last year, my PMS was just so haywire because I didn't know what was going on. And I was just trying so hard to always be productive and always be in my on game, and I couldn't do it. And I feel like I was just crashing much longer, and the menstrual stage and the luteal stage were just lasting longer and longer because I wasn't giving it the break that it needs. I wasn't giving my body the break that it needs and the rest that it needed. So with my ability to, or with, I should say, with my focus more into wellness and mindfulness and mindset and all of that, I have honestly learned to just respect my body. I've learned to love my body. I have learned to give it the foods that it wants. I've learned to just be so kind to my body. I mean, if you really sit down and think about it, like your reproductive system doesn't even really need your active participation. All you have to do is learn, be aware of what's going on, and then kind of just work with it. Because if you don't, it's only going to get worse from there. I want to end this episode by saying that, the female body is absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of shame and a lot of hate also that comes with, like, I'm on my period, like, oh, I look like this, I'm so bloated because of my period, like all these different narratives that we say. I think it's time that we change that, and we're not changing that for anyone else, but like changing that for ourselves, by recognizing the divinity that's in our body, by understanding how freaking phenomenal our reproductive system is, how like these hormones, they're on a cycle that kind of are on the same cycle with the moon, which is so crazy and so wild and a whole different topic to talk about in another episode when we tie in like how our body works with the cycles of the moon. And it's just so beautiful. And the more we just allow ourselves to just be and embrace all this divinity that shows up in us through our reproductive systems, you're just gonna feel just so much more bliss in your everyday. It's time that we shift out of the mindsets of, oh, like I'm on my period, to I'm on my period and this is my time to give my body the rest it deserves. So that is the end of episode 12. I hope that you did get something out of it. And I am your host, Nikki K. If you would like to follow me on my Instagram, you can follow me at Mindset Mentress. And my personal Instagram is at Nikki, that's NIKI.KAY. And you can also visit me on the Mindset Mentress blog for more information, like events and group trips that are coming up. And there are going to be some group trips that are going to be added for next year as well. So keep an eye out for that. And the last thought I want to leave you here is you are amazing. If you are a woman listening to this, your body is freaking so phenomenal. And if you're a guy listening to this, and if you stayed this long with us, I want to say that you are a great human being, because I think a lot of men need to also get on this subject and understand what's going on with our women's bodies. You know, you're gonna have wives and partners and girlfriends and daughters one day, so it's just having that kind of partnership in a man who understands what's going on in your body and understanding why your girlfriend or wife is acting a certain way is only gonna, I think, help the both of you have a more harmonious every day. So, all right, I'll catch you guys next week with another episode. This is Nikki K signing out.